Hi everybody. Another equipment instructional piece. We're going to learn how to properly read a graduated cylinder today. And for that purpose I have a 500 milliliter. You can tell by the number at the top. It's right here. We'll tell you what the total volume, and let me say that again, volume. What does a cylinder measure? It measures the volume of liquids. Volume of liquids or fluids. So this will measure up to 500 milliliters of fluid, and we're going to be working today to make sure that we can accurately read the amount of fluid that might be in a cylinder. And there's a little trick to this. I'll give that a second to calm down as we pour it in. I'm going to show you on my board back here, as we pour things in the cylinder, we're going to find out there's a lot of small marks called graduations. And in most cases, there are groups of 5 or 10 marks between each of the major numbers that might be on this beaker. And so in this particular case, between 350 and 300, we have 10 marks. Between 300 and, you see, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then we have 250. And so each of the marks on the side of that cylinder actually would be equivalent to 5 milliliters, since there's 10 total marks. So all different size cylinders have different size graduations. Some cylinders, every mark will be worth 1/10 of a milliliter. Some will be worth 1, some will be worth 5, some might be worth 10 milliliters. And so you're going to have to determine that based on the scale or calibration of your cylinder. So there's a scale for each cylinder. We could call it, how is the cylinder calibrated? So this one is calibrated to 5 milliliters per mark. And so if I want to read this particular cylinder, there's another trick that I have to know about. So as I fill that cylinder up with fluid, you'll see these lines going across. That fluid comes up, and where the fluid is, there's an interesting phenomenon that happens on a cylinder. There's like this area where there's almost like a shadowy top to the fluid. That area is called the meniscus. The meniscus. It's almost like the liquid goes up the sides just a little bit and goes down in the center to create this area called the meniscus. Sometimes the smaller the cylinder, the greater the appearance of the meniscus that you will have. So, here's the question. When I read the cylinder that's full of fluid, and the side of the fluid is here, but I can see that the meniscus goes like that, how much fluid is actually in the cylinder? Is it where the water is on the side, or is it where the water is at the base of the meniscus? Which in this particular case would go to this line. The top of the cylinder goes to this line. So which one is the correct one? Well, maybe you got it right. The correct way to read the cylinder is always going to be the bottom of the meniscus. Not the sides where the water is drawn up or the liquid is drawn up. At the very bottom, where the bottom of the little belly is, would be the exact place that you would read the cylinder. So in this particular example, 255, 60, 65, we would have 265 milliliters of fluid. We would not have 270 milliliters of fluid. So I don't know how well you can see this in the video, but I have a small meniscus in my fluid in here right now. And when I read this, I'm going to look from the bottom up to the smallest number. Okay, so cylinders count down and they also count up. So we're reading up from 50, we go to 75, we go to 100, And each of these is going to be worth 5, so it's 105, 110, and 115 would be 115 milliliters would be the amount of liquid in this particular cylinder. So part of our measurement lab this week is going to be for you to look at different cylinders with different amounts of fluids, find the meniscus, and read it correctly. So I hope you have fun practicing.